What's going on, Philadelphia? It's Wednesday, and if you hear those creaks, it's because I'm in the rocking chair today. A brand new venue for me and you, and there's a lot to get into. I'm thrilled that the Eagles won, and I'm still on a high from that. I'm glad that we're rolling on to the divisional round, and there are so many things that have happened in the last 2 days in terms of stories. Stats, things are just flying all over the place, so I just want to start right here. First of all, this morning, as I'm waking up here on Wednesday, Tim McManus released a really, really good article, and I think it is very poignant to kind of just reposition where Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are, where they were for a second. And I think that will explain to you exactly what we saw in the Packers game and why everyone, including me, will find a way to either pick on Nick Sirianni or pick on Jalen Hurts for the rest of the week leading up to this Rams game. There are two camps in Eagles fandom. We're just down to this now. It is either Jalen Hurts cannot perform enough to take this team into the Super Bowl, or Nick Sirianni's too dumb schematically in passing concepts for this team to be the juggernaut that it truly is. And people are starting to reprocess everything that they've seen over the season and maybe the last couple of years. They look at Tanner McKee and Kenny Pickett and they just go, man, we just feel like this offense is limited, and it's because of the quarterback or it's because of Nick Sirianni. And somewhere in between lies that truth, which I think I've been saying for a long time. It feels like we've been trying to figure that part out all season. And really, it's the cause. The answer is still both. The answer is still both, and I'm not here to complain. I'm just tired of hearing it, including myself. It's this guy or it's this guy. It's both of them. It is both Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni not agreeing. You know, that is something that we've been talking about since the last offseason. They don't agree with how the offense was run. And based on Tim McManus' article coming back from when the season started, when he's talking about Jalen Hurts calling the Giants and Wink Martindale to be like, hey, you guys blitzed the crap out of us and you made our offense look like crap. Can you tell me what you did? It sounded as if Tim in that article was saying Jalen Hurts wanted to run the ball more. And getting into this season, it felt a lot like 2023. And then suddenly Lane Johnson and everybody else after the bye week, that's why they won 14 games. All because of that. And in Tim's article this morning, where it says the relationship that has gotten the most attention is the one between Sirianni and Hurts. During the offseason, sources detailed a season-long strain between the coach, quarterback, stemming from a disconnect in offensive visions. And towards the end of this paragraph that I'm reading here, one source familiar with Hurts' thinking, who signaled things were off between Hurts and Sirianni at this time last year, also reiterated basically, once you learn a person, you learn how to deal with that person. The article really keeps going on to explain why his CEO role that he took on this year has been really, really important for team chemistry. That is something I always believed in terms of Nick Sirianni. This offseason, I very much compared him emotionally to Dick Vermeil. He just can't run an offense like Dick Vermeil. So they remind me very much of each other. A guy that would go to war for his players. A guy that would yell in the stands, and the players in this article saying, yeah, that's part of the package. If you love everything else he does and he deflects the blame right to himself to protect his players, it's everything that Dick Vermeil did, everything that Andy Reid did, Buddy Ryan did. All the good, successful coaches, the players' coaches, sound exactly like Tim's article when they're describing Sirianni's job, to the point of which, handwritten letters to people like Jordan Mailata and everybody else when they're going through personal problems, Milton Williams, and opening up so they have a connection about, yes, I have been through my dad battling cancer even as a child. And that's why I think you should go read this article. I'm going to leave that in the bottom of the description of this podcast. But everyone keeps yelling and asking the same thing, even after we see the offensive line do a body bag game, essentially. I don't want to say it out loud on Twitter, but a body bag game to the Packers. They destroyed them. There was nothing that the Packers truly could threaten them with. And granted, it would have been different if the Packers were a little healthier, but that's not the team that they played. And everything in the passing concepts looks exactly like a compromise between Kellen, Nick, Jalen, AJ, and everybody. That's just hard to do. And everybody says that the passing game is bad because Jalen either A, doesn't know what he's looking at, doesn't have the arm to do X, Y, and Z. And that just keeps coming out of people's mouths every time that the passing game doesn't doesn't have a good one. But you've heard this by now. It's Wednesday. There was hardly anybody open, and the only arguments that I hear from all 22 guys is, man, don't take that sack, throw a hospital ball to Dallas, got it for a couple of yards, and maybe it doesn't pop out or become an interception or anything. Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni both have coaching mindsets, and it doesn't mean that they're right all the time. Jalen Hurts is going to do the absolute best thing overall for his team. At least that's what it looks like to me. And for someone that knows his limitations and who really struggled in a new Kellen Moore offense of turning over the football, he has since been like, you know what? This team is too good. I don't need to do too much. I just need to manage this football game, which is exactly what every great quarterback has to learn how to do. And I don't care how talented you are. Everybody's yelling and screaming at Jalen Hurts about how come you're not putting up Lamar-like numbers against a team that, I mean, are you serious? Do you see that Steelers team? That is not a playoff team. You would have seen that if they were at the link. Then you've got people yelling Josh Allen and the Broncos. The Chiefs literally let them play you so you could go play the Ravens. Do you understand that? Those were two games that were never going to be won by the underdogs. And here, where you do have a good defense, and they do have Nick Sirianni's number, and everything else. And the difference between looking at Justin Herbert and the Chargers, which is something I tweeted about this week. Justin Herbert and every other guy that I've mentioned so far is way more talented than Jalen Hurts as a passer. There are so many quarterbacks in this league that are so much better passers than Jalen Hurts. It's okay to say that out loud. Jalen Hurts would probably agree with you on that, but it doesn't mean that he's this guy that can't throw a football or do. We have seen this before. It's baffling to me. It's just like, guys, he is just trying to get on to the next game. Why is there style points in wild card weekend? Are you serious? You want him to throw people open? Or Justin Herbert thought his arm could get him out of really bad situations. If you look at the passing games from both the Eagles and the Chargers, they're almost identical in terms of people not being able to get open, okay? Could you blame Devontae Smith for not running his route a little better or whatever? I don't know. Somebody smarter than me is going to have to figure that part out. But no one was open. Is it concerning to me that A.J. Brown can't win one-on-one matchups with a Packers secondary that he should be crushing? Yeah, kind of concerning. I don't know if that's injury, schematic, or whatever. But all of that was not happening. And you know what Justin Herbert did instead of Jalen Hurts? He kept throwing fucking interceptions and panicking when his defense was playing lights out and was forcing the Texans to turn over the football. So rather than trusting his teammates, and I get that he doesn't have the best wide receiving core in the world, but this ain't his first rodeo either, he decides that he can do everything, that he knows better than Jim Harbaugh, et cetera, et cetera. So do you want to know what I saw? I saw Jalen Hurts respecting his fucking coach and overall philosophy for beating the Green Bay Packers, which is big people beat up small people. Jordan Love can't do shit against this defense. We'll take care of it. Don't turn over the football. Let's go play the Rams. That's exactly what happened. And everyone would make you think that we're heading for doom as a team that they already kicked the shit out of on the road is coming in to Lincoln Financial Field. I would say that's a severe mismatch for your Los Angeles Rams. Huge. And there are many ways where I could see the Rams scheming up a great game plan to go fuck with Vic Fangio and win this football game. However, the Eagles are currently on their fuck you tour. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing that you can do to avoid that tiny, tiny defensive line that the Rams have. We've already seen the physical domination, 255 yards in the ground and 14 passes or whatever ends up happening from this game. Great. Fantastic. The only thing I would add is if you want to see some razzle-dazzle against the Rams, go 10 personnel, meaning 4 wide receivers, keep 26 or 14 on the field, do jet motion, do orbit motion, drive them crazy like old school Saints Darren Sproles. Just get everybody moving. That offensive, if they tried to do that shit that the Packers did where they just drop guys, then add another wide receiver. I'm tired of it. And that's where I'm at. I don't trust the concepts the Eagles dial up, But I also kind of think, what do you really want to put on film again? I get that too. Why overcomplicate everything? Why do we have to find a perfect passing play today? You don't. Okay? So, like, to me, this was lost in the game plan, but maybe they just knew they could win this way, you know? Like, I don't know what the overall strategy is, but one thing is for sure, it is a strategy. This isn't some wild pulling out my fucking six-shooter and like, we're going to do something different now. Yeehaw! No one's trying to save a season. No one's trying to pretend like they're not better than they are. This Eagles team is incredibly dominant, and the reason why you hear so many critiques of it is because everyone's scared of them. They don't like us ever, and now that fucking asshole Eagles fan who got his job taken away from him, it's even louder. And by the way, I spent a lot of time on this on Twitter with that whole situation, so if you want to look at it, go ahead. I don't really care at this point. It's just, to me, both people in the situation are absolute assholes. I have never seen anybody in their life get into a verbal argument anywhere in public and have it recorded and go, this guy is the worst person on earth, when that happens in every football stadium every Sunday, Monday, Saturday, high school, to anywhere. If it has alcohol in it, or if it has some dude that's like, I don't know, man. If you're wearing a body cam and you're coming into as a content creator, what the hell do you think you're going to get out of that? Where's the rest of the footage too? You know, that was like pretty semi-deep into the game when that was happening. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. But that's basically me in a nutshell. I love where this team is at. Everyone is going to continue to hate it and try and nitpick it because they're terrified. I'm sure you'll hear it from Lions fans soon. But that to me is the next destination on this fuck you tour. This team is heading to Detroit, and it's something that I have felt since November. We've all been wrong this season. I don't know why we can't just accept it and realize that this Eagles team will figure it out. If it looks sloppy, if it doesn't look sloppy, if it's Saquon, Jalen, or even Lane Johnson running a fucking jet sweep, they will figure it out. If they win 40-10 or 19-17, whatever. I mean, we are down to, will Jake Elliott miss an extra point? Like, that's got everybody gassed up this week. He's always missed extra points, guys. He is always missed from 33. That's what made him cute. You remember that? You remember the 2017 Super Bowl run? He couldn't hit an extra point, but he was bombing them from everywhere else. I'm not worried. Don't settle for field goals. Score touchdowns. The Eagles, on both sides of the ball, have the ability to control everybody. Nakobe Dean's injury is terrible. It's going to be a while for him to recover. And I know everybody had a little bit of a heart attack when they saw that Nicholas Moreau was signed this week. But you know, it's Zach Bond is just an absolute animal, and I get it. I think actually Oren Burks would be just like, you know, Kenny Pickett, just coming in absolutely cold. Knowing that you're going to start the entire week kind of helps. It kind of helps. And guess what? If Moreau ends up being Daniel Ellerby, great. You get torched for one drive, you come off the field, Eagles head on to the Super Bowl. So the concerns that the Eagles have, I believe any other franchise would be laughing at it. Like, yeah, you're dinged up. Yes, people are going to get hurt. You can question everybody's health at this point. Just a reminder that, you know, Alshon Jeffrey had to play with a torn rotator cuff throughout the entire playoffs. Like, this is where they're at. Every little ding and dink matters. Every little ounce of rest to make sure you can come back and play in 6 days matters, you know? So I love where this team is at. And after reading Tim's article, you can kind of get the sense that, like, that's what everybody needed. Everyone needed to feel free. There was, you know, too much figuring out what should we do, and not enough time paying attention to your individual players. I think that's pretty smart of the Eagles in general, of Nick Sirianni in general, however they arrived at that conclusion. Being the emotional leader is what everybody needs. If this was implemented in businesses everywhere, there'd be a lot less problems in businesses. I promise you that. A CEO needs nothing to do with the day-to-day. They need everything to do with, is everyone happy, and are we getting to our 3, 4, 5 year, 6-month goal? That's it. And I'm not saying this is how you win. I'm just saying this is how the Eagles win. This is how they sustain themselves. Because Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are really the ones putting the roster together. We can say collaborative. I'm so tired of hearing that. It's collaborative to a point. They're not going to turn down somebody's opinion, but this is Howie's team. What happens on the field is largely Howie's team. The coach here doesn't pick the coaches. It's really smart that everyone understands what their role is here. Some coaches don't like that. Nick Sirianni's okay with that. And the X's and O's and where these players are at is great, good enough, however you want to phrase it, to go win a Super Bowl, and that's what these guys are going to go do. I'll be back Friday or Saturday because the Fuck You Tour continues on, and we're just getting warmed up with hype speeches. So join us in the Discord. Come say hi on Twitter at John Barchard or anywhere on social. I'm pretty much everywhere, but that's where I'm mainly at on Twitter, and I will see you this weekend. Go Birds.